Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo, and this is one of those fun videos where I ask for your support. Hey, future Alex here, jumping into this part of the video to remind past Alex that you're terrible at actually saying the important bits, so if you want to skip directly to the parts on where and how you can contribute, that will be timestamped down below. So you can go ahead and jump directly to that part. If you don't want everything else, if you don't want all the bits, the pieces, I love what I do, the expenses, the income, if you don't want all of the other stuff and you just want to know directly how to contribute and how to donate, that's timestamped down below. I'll let past Alex get back to his rambling now. Thanks. I'm going to be going into a lot of things in this video. I will have timestamps down below in case you want to jump to the relevant sections or whatnot, but I will be going into how much money I make on YouTube, Patreon, advertising, all of that stuff. I'll also be going into what my expenses are to some degree. I can't break down everything because I do have employees, and while I'm comfortable sharing a lot of things, I'm not comfortable sharing what I pay them. We'll have that as well. You'll get a general profit and loss of what I make on YouTube and all of that stuff. I'll be going into a lot of different things in this video, timestamps to various sections, including, by the way, the ways you can support, some of which involve you paying nothing. There are going to be some ways in this video where you can pay absolutely nothing and yet still support me, support the channel, and support, Devin and Meg working here. So let's go ahead and dive into this. But starting off the bat, I've been doing this for 3 years now. I started, I can't remember the exact date. I want to say December 9th, 2019, which means we've just crossed the 3-year mark. And crossing over into the new year, just having finished up the whole top 100 and all of those things, I feel it's been a very fascinating journey. A journey that I'm incredibly grateful. I'm incredibly grateful for everyone here. Those of you who are watching this video, those of you who have watched in the past, I'm incredibly grateful to all of you for everything you've done, for every view, every like, every subscribe, every share, every comment, every single interaction you've had, whether you're a Patreon, whether you're not a Patreon, whether you've ever given any way to anything on the channel, in any way, shape, or form. I appreciate all of it. It's all a part of the fact that I'm able to be here doing this and just having fun as my job, so to speak, which is amazing and fascinating and very, very cool, and I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for all of it. This video is... Well, let's take a step back. Why this video? What's going on here? Well, a YouTube channel kind of survives on a few different things. Any YouTube channel, any content creator for that matter, survives on a few different things. There's going to be surviving on just, the love and passion for the hobby, which definitely started me off the bat, took me to a certain point, and is also to a large extent why I'm doing this right now. We'll get to that. I'm making less money than you think on YouTube, but that's intentionally with a degree of investment in people on the platform. But some of it's going to be coming down to the passion and love for the hobby, and some of it's going to be coming down to how well you can sustain things going onwards. And there's going to be different opportunities or avenues for how you make money on YouTube as a content creator. Some of them are going to be running large Kickstarters, some of them are going to be Patreon, some of them are going to be charging for the content, some of them are going to be relying on ad revenue, Patreon, any number of different things. I may have said Patreon twice, I don't know, but any number of different things will contribute to how you actually pay for anything from the expenses to your time that goes into it in what's going on a YouTube platform. Now, over at BoardGameCo, over here, the way I personally survive and as a company survive are a combination of having separate revenue. Well, as a person, I survive because I have separate revenue sources. As a company, I survive. Well, we'll get to that shortly. But effectively, what goes on is, right now, what BoardGameCo, what we do over here, is we currently have YouTube. YouTube right now brings in ad spend. We currently have roughly 500,000 views a month, maybe 450 a month, depending on the month. And it works out to roughly, and this is roughly, but just looking at the last year, for example, I made BoardGameCo. BoardGameCo, the operation, brought in roughly $39,000 from YouTube last year. Okay, that's a little over $3,000 a month on average. There are months where it goes down to around $2,000, and then there's months towards December, towards the holiday spending, where there's more ad spend going on, and you can make a little more. But the rough average of what we made over the past year is $39,000 in ad revenue from YouTube. That's all those mid-roll ads or the little pre-roll ad. That's YouTube paying for the amount of views that are coming on the platform, which is a decent chunk of change, okay? We're going to get to all the numbers I told you. It's going to be a fun video. There's an additional $26,000 I brought in from Patreon this past year. Patreon is currently at around $2,200 a month or so, and it does vary. It goes up and it goes down, but right now, past year of Patreon is going to be around $26,000, which again, not a small amount of money. And then there's an additional around $2,000 from sponsorships. Sponsorships are the least recurring revenue aspect on the platform, but occasionally here and there someone will do a video. The World Series of Board Game has sponsored some videos. GameFound has sponsored some videos before I started working there. And so it's roughly $2,000 a year from sponsorships. Not a lot. It's infrequent. There's a few here and there, and it's it can add up to a decent chunk per video, but there's not that many videos that actually have sponsorships, and so that's only around $2,000 a year. for a grand total of around $67,000 that I made from YouTube in the past year. Or again, that BoardGameCo. I'm distinguishing those two for a reason. BoardGameCo made around $67,000 from the entire YouTube venture. We don't run Kickstarters. We don't charge for any content, at least not yet. That might be changing. We'll come to that later in the video. We don't charge for content. We don't, and I will not be charging. We'll talk about it. Don't get scared. We're all good. But we don't charge for content. We don't run Kickstarters. The main source of support is Patreon and just the pure views themselves and how well they do, and then the occasional sponsorship, which adds up to $67,000 this past year. Will that number grow? We'll find out. Hopefully. I certainly hope it does, but we'll find out. As far as the expenses are where the numbers go very quickly downhill, although with intent, because I'm reinvesting into BoardGameCo, trying to grow it to be to be more than just myself. But effectively, expenses come down, and there's going to be less detail here because the problem is if I give you detailed line items of every single thing, you'll be able to figure out what I pay my employees, and I'm not willing to share that. I'm willing to share what I make. I'm not willing to share what I pay my employees. To that end, the expenditures, I'll list these in order of what's the most expensive to least expensive. We have employees. Devin from Devin Talks Tabletop and Meg from Professor Meg. They're both on payroll. There's something that over the past several months I've been having them into the videos more and more. You've seen them, and they are paid. They are paid decently for their time. It's a lot of time between travel, between the videos, between everything going on. They are paid employees, and they are the single biggest expense that BoardGameCo, the operation, has. And they are a very intentional expense as I try to make this platform more than just myself. This is directly inspired by a variety of other content creators, a variety of other channels, from the Dice Tower to Watch It Played. Watching other channels grow past a single person makes it, well, first of all, it makes it more fun. Selfishly speaking, getting to do things with my friends for work makes it more fun, but also I think it gives more of a voice to a channel than a single point of contact. And so that is specifically and intentionally an investment into, well, BoardGameCo. So that's the largest single expense. Then from there, there's going to be travel. Between travel to conventions that I have my own travel expenses, between travel to Devin and Meg, or Devin and Meg to me, or us to Devin, or any of the combinations of travel going on, there's a decent degree of travel expenses that go on there as we try to run a multi-person platform between friends that all live in different places, which is not the most efficient, and we're working on things, but not the most efficient, but that's what we're doing. Then there's convention itself. Conventions, between conventions travel, between convention, between the space you're staying, hotels or Airbnbs or whatever at conventions, very quickly that adds up a lot as well. And again, yes, it's fun. It is work. There's a lot of meetings that go on there. There's a lot of interactions. There's work and fun mixed together, but convention travel definitely is there. The next one down is equipment. Now, once upon a time, equipment was the biggest single expense on the channel. I mean, in total, my studio here costs a collective around $20,000 for all the various equipment. I have 3 cameras that are each around $3,500, $4,000 on their own, and then between everything else, the studio and all the stuff goes into the equipment right now is around $20,000. And currently, based on how my computer's been doing the past month or so, I'm probably due for a $2,000 computer upgrade soon enough either way, because I'm currently running on an older computer that was never really designed for editing, which is a whole different conversation as far as editing videos is one of the biggest things you can do on a computer. But right now, expenses are lower down. The equipment this past year, I think I added a single camera this past year, so even though expenses as a whole are $20,000 for various equipment, this past year it's lower down the list. Then we have a website. I'm actually currently in the process of paying someone for a website. That is going to be going up there as well. That's going to be another thing that's added to the current one-time expense, or hopefully one-time expense. There'll be maintenance, I'm sure, over time, but for the most part. And all of those things, employees, employee travel, conventions, convention travel, equipment, the website, all of those things, peripherals as well, they all add up to around $53,000 a year in expenses. That's currently what they add up to. So just so we recap on expenses versus income, we currently have around $67,000 of income coming in and $53,000 of expenses, and I don't count paying myself in that. And that, to be fair, I also have more expenses in terms of what I spend on games, what I spend on Kickstarters, what I spend on retail games for the channel, although that I'd say is balanced up by the fact that I also get creator copies of games. I do get games from publishers to review as well. So I basically have $67,000 and free board games, and then expenses of $53,000 and, spending money on board games. That's how the scales balance out. Oh, and a sword. I also have a sword. Which means my net total right now is roughly, if you can do the math over there, my net total is roughly $14,000 a year is what I'm currently making on YouTube. $14,000 is what I am personally taking home on YouTube. That's the rough profit on what I do. That's the rough profit for roughly 2 videos a day on average, plus streaming, plus... No, that's it. It's streaming and videos and all that. That's what the rough profit I make. Now, that's not a small amount of money, but it is a small amount of money relative to the work I put into the platform. Now, to be very, very, very clear, I said already this is going to be a pitch for money. There's a timestamp to that section. Probably should have made sure to reference that again and again. There's a specific aspect or way you can support the channel. But to be very, very, very clear, I love what I do. I adore what I do. I am absolutely adore what I do. And the way I'm able to survive on $14,000 a year, to be very clear, is because it's not $14,000 a year. It's I took a job at GameFound for a reason, but because it's a great opportunity that was put down in front of me, that great opportunity that is very, very cool to do, and gave me the options, the openings to invest in hiring people for BoardGameCo and see whether that works as a platform. We also have my wife's job as well, and so between those three things, between a GameFound, my own job, my wife's job, and then the $14,000 from YouTube, I am able to pay the bills, to be very clear. But, and going back to not but, and then going back to what I said, I love what I do very, very much. I am a huge fan of this opportunity, and I'm tremendously grateful for this opportunity. The biggest expense right now currently is definitely the employee section. If you take the employees out, that takes out the biggest expense, and it totally changes the numbers. But the choice of investing in employees was a very conscious and intentional choice that is specifically with the goal of growing BoardGameCo past myself. It's an investment in the future, and it's trying to do an investment in the future while not really engaging in paid content, at least not yet. It's worth noting to that degree, that to that end, that there is likely going to be paid content on the channel at some point. I will likely not be doing paid content. Any review I still do will still be a review content completely the same way it has been. Everything's going to stay the same there. But what I will be potentially exploring is having the opportunity to have Devin or Meg to potentially do preview content completely separate from myself. Again, taking inspiration from the Dice Tower here, from the Dice Tower and Mark Streed, kind of having a separate entity within BoardGameCo do preview content to hopefully bring in money to pay their bills, so to speak, to pay for the expenses of the platform of BoardGameCo, while keeping myself as distant as possible. I also respect that for some of you that might not be enough. For some of you, you might not like the fact that Publisher Y is paying BoardGameCo, even though I'm not the one covering it and I'm reviewing their game 6 months from now. I understand that the degrees of separation might not be enough for you. Everything I do on this platform is an experiment. Everything I do is an experiment of trying to balance my needs, the needs of BoardGameCo, the needs of the people I'm working with, the needs of you, yourself, the viewer. There's a lot of balancing going on, and as always, I will try to stay true to my heart as much as possible, while respecting that sometimes I'll have to change my own opinions, and while respecting that sometimes the choices I make will make this platform, this channel, not the right choice as far as what you are looking to watch. That was true when I took the job at GameFound. There were some people who were not happy with that and thought the content would change to some way, shape, or form, and didn't like that shift of me working for someone in the board game space. And again, I respect that. I will always try to make the best possible choices, trying to balance a variety of needs and hoping for the best along the way. Now, this is the part where I ask for money, this part right here. Now, I don't deserve your support, to be very, very clear. I don't want to say I deserve your support, and I won't be saying that, hey, please support the channel, or else there's going to be no more videos, or to keep the content going. There's no deserving of anything, and the videos are going to keep going. No matter what happens, the videos are going to keep going. I love what I do. I will always seek to improve the channel. That's a different conversation. I will always seek to improve the quality of the content in any number of ways in order to just bring the best possible experience to everyone, to you, to me, to everyone involved here. I think I have been given a tremendously cool opportunity, and my goal is to make the most of it. To never sit still, to never simply say, okay, this is what I'm doing, but to always be iterating and developing BoardGameCo as a content platform around board games. And I say this on the YouTube banner every time, for the love of the game. For the love of the game. I love what I do. I love this hobby. I want this to be the best possible thing ever. I do not deserve your support, and the videos will always come. That's not the question. What I will say is, if you appreciate the content, if you appreciate the videos I do, the constant attempts to improve the channel, the multiple videos per day that go out every single day, every single week, the daily content that hasn't stopped for 3 years. There was one day, like 2-3 months ago, where I missed a single day by mistake because I didn't set the correct schedule and I didn't look at the channel, and then for a whole day, there was one Saturday in like September where there was not a single video. But past that one exception, for the past like 3 years, there have been daily videos, non-stop, daily videos constantly trying to improve, to add, to change up the set, to change up what gets thrown into videos, to add more streaming, to do different things. If you appreciate the content, then I appreciate whatever you're able to give back. You don't have to. Absolutely not. And the fact that you made it this far in the video is, I already appreciate it. Whatever you are able to do, I do appreciate. It helps. It helps offset the cost, the expenses, and it helps me continue to invest in the channel and the people and in the growth of what this is. And there's a few ways you can do so. There's a few ways. I'll have them links to everything down below. The first is PayPal directly. PayPal directly is the biggest single source of you know, the max amount you can give without any fees being taken out past the PayPal fees themselves. So I'll have PayPal. You can do that. I'll have an email down below. You can send any donations through that. One-time donations. I think there's ways set up recurring, although I don't know offhand. There's also Ko-fi. I think it's one of those things. Kofi. That might be down below. I'm not entirely sure if we'll have that set up or not, but that also is, again, the biggest single. I believe that can be done recurring as well. We'll look into the options there, but that is, again, the no fees being taken out. If you want your max amount of impact of your donation to go towards the channel, that's another option there. There's also going to be, and this is a fun one. This is a fun one over here. Twitch is a fun one, okay? Because Twitch, over on Twitch, currently we've been streaming. Professor Meg and I have been streaming over on Twitch, although we've currently just started moving that over to YouTube. I'll link to that down below. But over on Twitch, one of the fun things about Twitch is even though Twitch takes out one of the highest percentages, Twitch takes 50% of what's given. So if you have a Twitch membership, 50% of what's given there goes to Twitch, and the other 50% goes to the creator. The flip side is if you use your free Amazon subscription, then that's basically no money from you and just $250 from Jeff Bezos directly in our pockets. And that could be set up on a monthly basis. You do have to manually reactivate it every single month. The fun part is if 1,000 of you decided to go ahead and give your free Jeff Bezos money to us, that's $250 from 1,000 of you. What is that? I should know the math on this. That's $2,500 a month of free Jeff Bezos money that would go into our wallets. To be very clear, anything that goes to Twitch will be completely evenly split between Meg and myself. That's more of a separate venture from BoardGameCo. The reason I bring that up is in case you want to donate without having to give up a cent from yourself, just go ahead and set up a monthly recurring reminder to go ahead and send a little money of Jeff Bezos' money through Twitch using your free Amazon subscription every single month. You have one free Amazon subscription per person. You can use it for whatever favorite streamer you want. In this case, I'm asking to use it for us. And then lastly, there's Patreon. Patreon is going to be the biggest single source I have of crowd support past advertising. Advertising is the biggest single support that I currently have of revenue from YouTube, and Patreon is the single next biggest step. And with Patreon has a variety of benefits. All of these in theory should have benefits. The practical reality is the way I have set things up. I'm going to look into trying to figure out what my options are to making sure everyone can get whatever benefits there are, but Patreon right now is the most set up for benefits. Now Patreon does have roughly a 10% cut, so 10% or so of what you give does go to Patreon. It's better than most of the other options aside from just, you know, Ko-fi or PayPal directly. But for Patreon, you're going to get the following benefits. First of all, you're going to be getting every single Monday I post the schedule for the week. Not a small benefit, but in case you want to know what's going up on the channel, every Monday I have a post posting the full schedule for the week. Most Mondays you also get an unfair and unbalanced video. If you've been watching the channel, you know that on Mondays I have a to back or not to back series, and every single Monday I have a unfair and unbalanced where I take a look at all the crowdfunding campaigns that I just covered, and I try to aggressively convince you not to back them as much as possible. It is called unfair and unbalanced for a reason. It is not a fair and balanced approach. It is meant to be the counter FOMO to the crowdfunding FOMO that exists. And I give that disclaimer every single week. I want it to be very clear. It's not meant to be fair or balanced. It's meant to be counter FOMO. That goes up every single Monday that I have a to back or not to back. At various tiers, you'll also get free games for my games leaving the collection videos that I put out every single month. There are a few games being given out randomly. There's no guarantee they are picked. You have the chance of saying, hey, I want this game, and people get picked every single month to get free games. Generally, there's also at least one update a week. There's often a behind the scenes of what's going on, like, you know, what conventions I'm going to, what's currently bothering me, what's happening around the BoardGameCo scene. There's usually, not always, a once a week video going up there as well. There's a decent amount of content that goes up on a fairly regular basis. Our weekly live show that goes up every Wednesday currently has a segment that is voted on by Patreons. If you want to be a part of that, if you want to influence what conversations we talk about on the weekly live, that's also over on Patreon. Basically, there's a lot of Patreon content, and my goal is to always make sure that there is dedicated, exclusive Patreon content. I want you, if you're giving to me, I want you to feel appreciated, and I want to give back to you. And so over on Patreon, they will also have that. Now, hopefully, and I don't know if this will be done by the time this video goes up, but hopefully another opportunity is to become a YouTube member. That's another thing that hopefully either now with this video or sometime soon, I'll be launching YouTube membership as well. Again, it's just another opportunity for people who don't want to engage in Patreon, who don't want to engage in this or that. I'm trying to give as many opportunities of the different ways you can try to support the channel, and being a YouTube member is definitely one of them. Again, that's another one where it's worse than Patreon, but better than Twitch. I believe YouTube takes around 30% or 33%, something like that, of the total cut, but most of it still goes towards myself, towards BoardGameCo, and so that will help there as well. And those are basically the main options. PayPal, Ko-Fi if I have it, Twitch for free if you want that, YouTube memberships, and Patreon. Hopefully I'll have them all linked down below with instructions of whatever ones I managed to get set up properly in time for this video. As far as rewards, to make this fun, let's have some little bit of stretch goals for Patreon as well, because this is often crowdfunding related on the channel over here. Let's have some stretch goals as well at the same time. Patreon currently, at the time of me filming this, is at around $2,200 a month is currently what I'm getting from Patreon. When that hits $2,400 a month, I'm going to go ahead and release a picture that I have of me sitting in a Gloomhaven box. This is something we did over on Twitch because Professor Meg sits in boxes. I told that our Twitch community that when we hit 1,000 followers, we'll have myself sitting in a Gloomhaven box. I did it, and at 2,400, I'll have that in some video somewhere here. I'll post it in like a week in review or something like that once we get to, or over on Patreon maybe. Maybe I'll just post it over on Patreon. Maybe we'll do that once we have 2,400 a month. So not that far off. Once 2,400 a month, we'll post over on Patreon a picture of me sitting in a Gloomhaven box. At 2,700, I'll sing a song for Patreon. I don't know what song. I'll pick a song and I'll fully do a full video singing a song. I may or may not throw on background music. I can't guarantee. It depends how bad it comes out. But I'll do a full song. I've done occasional singing before. I do not think that I'm particularly good at it. I think that it is fun sometimes to watch people do things that they're not that great at. And I've sung occasionally in videos briefly, and I will do a full song because why not? At 2,700, no, that's 2,700 already. At 3,000, we'll pick a game to review. This will be a fun one, okay? At $3,000 on Patreon, we'll pick a game to review, where as I review the game, I will slowly, without addressing it or talking about it, destroy the game. Meaning I'll just start reviewing a game, and we'll pick the game, and then as I am covering it, I'll just start ripping up cards here, and maybe grabbing some scissors and cutting something there, without addressing it, without talking about it, without in any way addressing what is happening on camera. I will just do a completely normal review where I destroy the game. Okay, I will have to work with you over on Patreon to see which game I'm willing to choose. I have to be mindful that it's a game that I paid for myself and not a publisher sent me, because they may not appreciate that. I have to be mindful that it's done in a way which doesn't come across as problematic. So ideally I want it to be a game that I actually like, as opposed to a game that I don't like, because then it would come across as more mean. So we'll balance that, but at $3,000 a month on Patreon, we'll do that. And at $3,500 a month on Patreon, and I'm doing this one because I don't expect this number to actually be hit, but if it does, cool. At $3,500 a month on Patreon, I'll start an audio reading of my favorite book, Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. I'll go through the full 40 hours or so. Yes, I looked it up. Apparently the audio version currently available is around 40 hours, so I assume if I don't go fast, because I'm going to try to do it nice and slow, if I don't go fast, I assume I'll be somewhere in the 40-hour range. I'll have 40 hours of me reading through my favorite book, Pillars of the Earth, in slow audio segments released on Patreon. Probably on Patreon, I assume. We'll figure out the details of these. And that's what we'll have over there as far as those Patreon stretch goals. And that's where we are with this. This video is kind of state of the union, so to speak. Just being directly frank with you, what the expenses and income are of BoardGameCo, what my goals are and hopes are with the channel. There are many opportunities to try to close the gap. My goal, effectively, is that I can build something in which I can build something past myself. I want to build something which is more than just me, which is a group of voices. Right now, starting off with Meg and Devin, who's to say what the future holds? I can't speak to 5, 10, 15 years down the road and what things look like. But I know that I love this opportunity that I've been given, and I want to turn it into as much as I possibly can. Not monetarily speaking, experientially speaking. To spend time with friends, to spend time in the hobby that I love, doing things that I love. That's what I want. I just have to be able to make the money all work at the same time. And since I try not to charge for content as little as possible, and since we currently don't run Kickstarters, I'm trying to navigate and figure out what compromise works best on getting there. We'll take it one day at a time. But I very much appreciate you all being here. I appreciate your part in this. I'm tremendously grateful for every single one of you. Whether or not you do donate in any way, shape, or form, I am grateful for every one of you that have, in some way, let me be at the position where this is even a conversation we're having. Thank you. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. We'll go back to our regularly scheduled viewing. And as always, I hope you have a good one.